Well, welcome to Marriage Monday. My name is Lindsay Rodriguez. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and every Monday I release a video on tips, tricks, or just discussions about mental health, and specifically, generally, things that help relationships. Today is slightly a little different. Today is going to be a little heavier conversation and could be slightly triggering. So if you, this is just a warning that you may want to skip this video if you don't want something heavier or triggering. Today we are going to talk about depression and specifically what to do if someone around you is suicidal. So again, a much heavier conversation, and if you don't want to talk about this topic, just go ahead and skip this week or go rewatch another week and get, caught up to speed. So I feel like this is really important to talk about because when I'm recording this video, we're right around the holiday season, and we're right in the dead of winter, and that can be a real high seasonal depression and suicidal time for people around you. And so I wanted to do this PSA of what to do if a friend, family member, coworker, right, partner, child, if someone is dealing with suicidal thoughts. So that is first things first. Another thing is that this is going to be a brief kind of how-to, some brief steps here. This is not all-encompassing. So if you need more information than this, you can message me with specific questions or do a little bit more research, because again, this is going to be the tip of the iceberg on this conversation, but it's just kind of some initial tips on what to do if you're in that situation. So first, let me give you a tiny bit of an overview. So depression is a little different, where if you haven't struggled with depression, it's hard to grasp. So I like to explain this to people to kind of understand depression. But it's almost like when you are depressed, it's almost like you were dropped into a well. Y'all know a water well and how deep those can be. Our house is on well water, and our well is, I think, 700 something feet deep. It's super deep in the ground. And so if a person was dropped into a well, all they would see around them was darkness, right? If you see 1 foot in front of you, it's dark. If you turn around, it's dark. If you look behind you, it's dark. All you see is darkness and hopelessness. Now, there are different levels of depression, right? Say you're not 700 feet deep. Say you're 5 feet deep or 10 feet deep. You may be able to look up and see some light or see some horizon or see some hope or see some people you can talk to, right? You're not as deep, you can look up. But then if you look right in front of you, you still see that darkness or that hopelessness. And so there are different levels of stages of depression or where people are at. But the point is that it doesn't mean that there's not an outside world around you. It just means that when someone is in that depressive state, they can't see it. They're in a hole. So that's how I explain that. Now, say someone is really deep in that hole and they're looking around them and all they see is darkness. And you say something like, well, you have your family, they love you so much, or come on, your job is great, or why, I just don't understand how you could feel this low. Those kinds of comments, while meant coming from a great place from your heart, right? They're meant to show them the hope. They're meant to show them the outside world. Those kinds of comments can produce a significant amount of shame. So shame is this self-hatred or this negative self-talk. And shame looks like these thoughts in our head where we say, I'm not good enough. I can't do it. I'm just so dumb. I can't even see what that person is pointing out, right? Shame increases depression because it increases this negative self-talk that can keep us in the hole. It can make us feel like, great, I can't even do this. So those kinds of comments are not super helpful when someone's in the hole. Now, when they're out of the hole and they can see a little bit more and you point out, look, I'm here, we're all here, that can be a lot more helpful. So just know that. And again, I know everything's coming from a great place, but I'm just kind of giving some points. So that's a little background into depression. Now let me give a tiny background into suicide. So there's different stages of suicidality, right? There's the thought of, I wish I went to sleep and I never woke up, or it would be okay if I just wasn't here. Those are thoughts of suicide that just think they're more inactive, but still thoughts of suicide, right? And then there's a step further. There's a step further of, oh gosh, the world would be a much better place without me in it, and I think I'm really going to end my life. So that's a suicide thought with an intent. A stage further is suicide thought with intent and plan, right? The world would be a much better place without me. I think I'm really going to do it. In fact, I'm going to do it Monday, and I'm going to do it this way. That is really, really the scary area. All of these are worrisome and scary. And if you're talking to someone, I want you to do these steps, what we're going to talk about. I want you to use these tools with someone in any of these stages. But I'm just letting you know that there are different stages, and that last one is the really acute one that is extremely, extremely worrisome. So let's say someone calls us with that acute thing. This is where we're going to get into what to do. So let's say we get a call from a coworker. Sometimes it's not someone that's extremely close to you. They've just kind of labeled you in their head as a safe person, and they might reach out and throw a line into the water. They don't always call someone that is super close to them or in their life every day. So let's say you get a call from a coworker and you say, hey, what's going on, Jimmy? I missed you. They say, oh gosh, I've been sitting on the side of the road and I think I'm going to drive my car off the bridge. Your initial reaction is going to be shock, right? Which is why we're planning for this. And here's what I want you to do if you get that call. I don't want you to say, oh my gosh, don't do that. I don't want you to try to stop them. I don't want you to say statements like, I would miss you so much. What would we do without you in the office? Or you can't do this. Don't want you to talk them out of it. And I don't want you to say any statements that could produce more shame, like we talked about. What I do want you to do is ask open-ended questions. So, oh, what bridge are you by? Where in town are you? What bridge are you by? Oh, how long have you been thinking about doing this? Tell me more about doing this or what that looks like for you, or tell me more about why you think this is a good idea, right? And then you can go to some small talk things. You can go to, tell me about what your family is up to, or tell me about the soccer. You told me you were going to a soccer game last week. How was that? And keep getting them to talk by the open-ended questions. Again, nothing shaming. Don't tell them not to do it. Don't give them any advice. Just ask them these open-ended questions and keep them talking. While you are keeping them talking, I want you to try to find another device, and I want you to call the authorities. This is very, very important. You do not need to talk someone off the ledge and prevent them from hurting themselves. Your job is to keep them on the phone long enough to call the authorities and get someone there. And this is extremely important. There is only so much that you and I can do, but we need direct intervention. So keep them on the phone long enough. Try to find another device. And if you're local, call 911. If they're in a different state or city, look up the sheriff's department number for that area and call them. You may get the person talking on a longer story, put them on mute so that you can talk to the dispatcher, or signal, text your wife to call the authorities, right, and tell them the situation. But that is very important. Number 3 is you want to try to stay on the phone with them until you hear the authorities get there, whether that's the police department or the fire department or that kind of thing. And they typically, most cities have someone trained in dealing with suicidal cases. And so someone with much more experience will be on the scene and able to intervene whatever way that looks like that's healthy for that person. So again, you want to stay on the phone until you hear the authorities get there and you hear that they're okay. And then I want you to say, hey man, I really hope that, you're going to be okay. I really care about you and I'm going to follow up with you tomorrow or in 2 days or whatever that looks like. But show them that you're still their friend. You're going to be there for them. You're not going anywhere just because you called someone. I want to emphasize again the importance of keeping them on the phone and calling the authorities. You don't know what situation they're in. So even if they reassure you, thanks for talking to me, I'm not going to do it, I promise, you don't know what situation they're in. So they could be in the garage with the car running, and that carbon monoxide could be filtering into their house where they have pets or friends or family, or they're going to re-enter the house and they don't realize that that's circling back in. Even though they're not currently suicidal, there could be risks. If they're threatening suicide with a weapon, they may say, I'm going to bring you the weapon, and they may have more, right? And again, not that the authorities can necessarily prevent all of this, but they can assess the situation, and they're trained to assess the situation more than you and I are. So I cannot stress enough that over the phone or even in person, you may not have the skills to fully assess the situation, and calling the authorities is the best thing you can do for you and for them. You don't need that weight of being the last person that has kind of talked them out of it, and neither do they, right? So that's the best situation for both of them, both people. Again, this is the tip of an iceberg conversation about a really, really heavy, sensitive topic. And my goal is to provide you with just kind of these quick no-tos if you are in this situation or if someone around you is in this situation. My goal with all these videos is to get more resources and information out to people, because I think healthier mental health, healthier people, healthier relationships mean healthier kids and healthier families and healthier communities, and ultimately a healthier country. So I hope this helps. I know that this was really heavy, and I know that I didn't answer all of your questions by any means, but I hope this gives you a starting point on what to do if this happens. So all that to say. I will see you guys next Monday with a little lighter conversation. So I hope you don't want to miss that. I certainly don't want you to miss it. So subscribe on the button below to make sure that you never miss a Monday.